it's not just any Friday, it's Black Friday, and it's the Gauntlet. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. We got a great show ahead of us tonight. We got JB Ellis in the house. The New York Giants has been kind of a dysfunctional mess for the whole season, so we want to get into that later. But JB and Kendall, thank you guys for being on the show tonight.
Yes, sir.
For
Yes,
sure.
sir. Anytime, man. Anytime, man.
Hey,
All right. So, guys, you know how we get it down every Friday night? Gauntlet Grinders. Who was on their grind this past week? Who wants to start with us?
shoot, go clockwise. I say, Dom, go ahead, man.
NFC, I've got Jameer Gibbs. Lions running back, Jameer Gibbs. 21 carries, 90 yards, 2 touchdowns. David Montgomery got hurt in like the end of the first quarter. I was there, so Jameer had to be the horse the rest of the game. Definitely grinded it out. A couple touchdowns. This team just keeps rolling. AFC, I've got Tony Pollard. 24 carries, 119 yards, and a touchdown. I would say it's a big win of sorts for the Titans, but it's kind of a lost season. I mean, anytime you can beat a team that's, not only ahead of you in the standings, but leading your division, that's huge. But I don't know that much can be gleaned from this. A lot of people were kind of questioning the Tony Pollard signing as to whether or not he's an actual lead back, if he was capable of absorbing that number of carries. But for this week, at least, he definitely looked like it. Had himself a nice game and got his team a win.
All right.
Awesome stuff. So Jameer Gibbs and Tony Pollard, two running backs for Dom.
Yeah.
People have been talking about running backs and how it's been a resurgence. Teams haven't really put a value on it, but running backs definitely showing that value this season. Next, we'll go to JJ. JJ, your Gauntlet Grinders.
I'm going to go with a guy that I actually have to see this weekend, and it's glad we're talking about running backs because, I mean, come on, man. The man dropped 200-plus yards and now became the rushing leader. It's just got to be Saquon Barkley because at the end of the day, we was talking about it at the barbershop. He just very well, when you look at the most valuable player, he actually just might be it because the Eagles look confident, the Eagles are excited, and he just grinds. I love Jameer Gibbs. I love that guy. I think he's actually the better back for Detroit and I think he should get more carries, but I'll give it to Saquon Barkley. And then on the flip side, I am going to give it to my defense because my defense for the second straight game has held a quarterback to under 210 passing yards, and they went from being the worst defense spot, like in the 28th or 27th, to now 24th, and now have dropped from 294 yards passing given up to now 277. They keep going down, and it keeps letting me know that we're going to get into it later. The next game is coming up as a big test, but I give a shout out to that defense because everyone, for all what they talk about, they're not really looking at seeing that this defense has gotten better ever since our Darius Washington has been inserted into the starting lineup alongside Kyle Hamilton. So I give it to that defense because they came in. I don't have any worries about them anymore. I never really did because I knew they could turn the football over. But now I know they're ready to go, and they did a good job against a team that has a familiarity with us due to their coach and their OC and so many of the players. I got to give it to my defense because they did that.
So you don't even have a little bit of worries. Very interesting. Kendall, we'll go to you next.
I'm gonna keep the trend going. Detroit Lions guy, I forgot your name. One that you went with Jameer Gibbs. JJ went with the Baltimore Ravens, the defense and whatnot. I'm gonna stay with the Ravens. I'm going with Derrick Henry, 24 carries, 140 yards. Hey, I think y'all played the Steelers before then, and the team struggled or whatnot. They didn't really get the running game going. What did John Harbaugh and the Todd Monken offense do? They locked in this past week, got into the lab. They said, let's feed the beast. They fed Derrick Henry 24 times, 140 yards. Your backup running back, I can't think of his name. He scored the final touchdown.
Justice Hill.
Yeah, Justice Hill. So I mean, I like what Baltimore did. My grind of the week is going to be Derrick Henry, and for the Ravens offense to get the ground game back going, man. That was big for them. I like what I've seen for Derrick Henry. Didn't score a touchdown, but it didn't need to because Lamar did all the work. And that defense, just like JJ said, they got after Justin Herbert. I kind of knew it was too good to be true for the Chargers to beat Baltimore on Monday. I said the Chargers would turn back into the Chargers, and they sure did. Kind of like the Rams turning back into the Rams Sunday night against the Eagles. I kind of figured the Chargers would turn back into the Chargers on Monday night. It was just too good to be true.
Kendall giving the Ravens some credit after last week's debate. Pretty interesting. JB, we'll go to you next. Your Gauntlet grinders for the week.
For the AFC, I'm going to go with Jalen Waddle. 8 receptions, 144 yards for a number 2 wide receiver. Great week for him. He went off. He was huge for the Dolphins. And the NFC, there's really no choice other than Barkley. I mean, if he did that 4 times, he'd have 1,000 yards. Who has 1,000 yards in 4 weeks? I mean, come on. That's just ridiculous. And, when we talk in the Giants segment later, that's one of the things that, a lot of people mistake and think that this guy would be able to do this if he was playing for the Giants. No way. The Eagles line is so much better. And, Barkley is a beast when he's healthy. Good for him. I hope he does the same thing every week from now until the Super Bowl.
Got a better offensive line for sure.
Yep. Yeah, Saquon's been incredible. Definitely putting his name in the hat for the MVP the way he continues to play. So, yeah, I think Saquon would be a unanimous pick for the Gauntlet grinder. And Jalen Waddle was also a great shout. 8 catches for 144 yards and a touchdown, by far his best game in the season. Some great picks for Gauntlet grinders, guys. So when we get back.
Hey, wait. Mine.
Okay.
And yours.
Denzel. Sorry.
And yours too, James.
Yeah, and yours too. Hey, can y'all hear me?
Well, that was mine. That was mine, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Hey, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. So, my AFC Gauntlet grinder is going to the dude who just may steal Offensive Rookie of the Year from Jaden Daniels. And that's Broncos quarterback Bo Nix, 25 of 42, 73, 2 touchdown passes, 94.6 passer rating. The Broncos, while once again they won't catch the Chiefs, they are eyeing that wild card spot. For all we know, they could steal it from the Chargers the way the Chargers played the other night. But the Broncos definitely a team that we didn't see coming, and who knew that would be Bo Nix? And with Bo Nix, it had been, I won't even say a slow progression, just a gradual progression throughout the year, but he's having a hell of a rookie season. Shout out to him. My NFC Gauntlet grinder is Jackson Smith-Jigba, JSN himself, 6 receptions, 77 yards, a touchdown, only touchdown in the game. Proven to be, he's my flex back on my fantasy team. I had to double shout him out, but this dude is awesome. Great in the open space, very dangerous, taking pressure away from DK Metcalf. And it's because of guys like him that Seattle has a legit chance to win the division as long as Eugene Cyril Smith 3 keeps feeding them the ball. So those are my 2 grinders.
All right, guys, some really great choices for the Gauntlet grinders. When we get back, time for the sports morons of the week. Dumbest takes, dumbest moments in sports. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope everyone had a Thanksgiving or a good Thanksgiving. It was definitely an eventful one when we look at some of the things that took place, including this, the Chicago Bears, an absolute mess at the end of the game with a chance to either tie, at least at the very minimum, tie the game, possibly go win the game. Horrible clock management from Matt Eberflus not calling the timeout. He would be fired.
Well, this is supposed to be a quarterback draw. They have a light box.
For anybody that missed it.
Clock is running with 15 seconds, and it's 3rd and 26. They have 1 timeout left.
This is like the light box. You could have gotten numbers, but just didn't.
You better hurry.
The Bears actually made franchise history today. First time they ever fired a head coach in season.
Do something when it comes down to this play. Incomplete, and the game is over. Completely botched at the end by the Bears.
6 straight losses, right?
I can't believe they didn't take a timeout.
I was just completely in awe by what happened. Matt Eberflus gets fired later today, and just something that kind of makes it a little bit worse, in my opinion, was his comments post game where he was telling everyone that basically we liked the way we made the decision. It just didn't turn out the way we wanted it to. I think it was already bad enough that those comments might have been what finally did him in.
I think he knew he was getting fired. That's why he did it.
Yeah, even when you know you fucked up, when you're about to get fired, you got to double down on whatever you did.
Sure do. Sure do.
Yeah, that's the only other logical explanation because, I mean, you cannot be this inept at time management, clock management, in a situation where you could steal one from the top team in the NFC. That's just ridiculous. There has to be an alternate theory that he knew he was going to get fired and he wanted to stick it to the Bears.
There's just something mentally wrong with him. I mean, he did the same thing last week when he challenged a long pass play. And he said, well, anytime there's a long pass play, we got to challenge it. I don't really see it, but, I'm going to challenge it anyway because it was a long play. Then he can't manage the clock. The guy just can't manage a football team, and it's about time they got rid of him.
Whew.
Man, I think I don't know how you could have any moron of the week than this play right here, man. That was crazy, man. I knew by the time I thought it was going to happen. I actually think it happened a little later. I actually thought it was going to happen late Thursday night. He was going to get fired or whatnot. So the fact that he made it to the next morning was crazy or whatnot, man. It's
out the paycheck.
That should have been one of those ones where they had him off at the pass in the terminal and take him into a room.
It was crazy, man. I think when they lost like 4 or 5 straight games. I know we beat them a few weeks ago when if you let the Patriots beat you or whatnot, and the way that we dominate them had 9 or 10 sacks. I know something ain't right, but I just think it was due. And we just got to see what I actually think Thomas Brown, offensive coordinator, been doing a good job with Caleb Wood. They've been moving the ball, playing a lot better lately. So we just have to see what happens.
Caleb looked terrific in the second half.
Yeah, we have to see what happens going forward. But I'm interested to see who gets that coaching position next year. I think it's going to be a hot job. They got some talent on that team, young quarterback. They probably gonna have a little bit of money to spend. They got some talent on that defense too. So I actually think it's going to be a pretty good hot coaching spot for some teams for somebody to go to.
Rumor has it one of our coordinators.
Any more sports morons you guys want to talk about?
Who could top Matt Eberflus?
Yeah, that was got to be one of the worst things I've ever seen. I mean, there are certain things when you watch sports and you say, listen, it happens. They shouldn't have beat the Lions anyway, but here they are. This is like 4 straight weeks where they had a shot to win a game, and most of the games that they lost were against better teams, and they're in these games.
They are
stupid things that cost them. Like, what are you doing?
They are the early 2000s Lions. They are snatching defeat from the jaws of victory.
Yep.
Yeah. They're finding ways to lose games.
Yeah, the only positive to this is when you look at a progression of a team, look at the Lions. This is kind of what happens. You have to learn how to win. You got to go through this. You got to get to the point where you're right there, and then you overcome that, and then you start winning those games. And then when you start winning them consistently, you become a good team like the Lions or the Chiefs.
Yep. The funny thing about the Chiefs is if nobody knew which teams was playing, but they knew the outcome, you would think it was the Chiefs that won the game like this, considering how their season has gone, especially after earlier today. But it's like, nope, it was the Lions and it was the Bears that screwed up. But it makes sense that the Bears screwed up because we've talked about what it was the Bears' way to lose this season, what the blocked field goal and had other mishaps, just finishing games, man. That's what it is. But this right here, again, you had a chance to steal one on Thanksgiving. I think the Bears were a 10-point underdog.
I thought it was 6.5. I don't know.
It was 6.5.
It was over 10.
It was a 10. Yeah,
it was, I think 10.5.
Yeah, they were 10-point underdog, and
I
had a
would
chance
have
to
smashed
steal
that.
one on Thanksgiving.
I would have smashed that. I would have smashed that. Stop playing.
And just so I mean, it's anyone's guess if Eberflus is going to get on somewhere else. But right now,
he coordinator.
He has no
coach.
He shouldn't
even
be managing a Boy Scout troop at this point.
Yeah, I actually think he's a pretty good defensive coordinator. He did a good job with the Colts a few years back, and the Bears' defense is pretty solid. Well, I think he's a better coordinator than head coach. Some people just are better coordinators than head coaches.
That's
It's
true.
a whole different ball game.
Mr.
Can
JJ.
I do a call out? Let me do a call
Yes,
out.
sir. You can. That's just what I was going to ask you.
I love it, bro. Thank you, man. So I'm going to call out my own fan base because one thing that is starting to really kind of bother me a little bit is the constant trying to question John Harbaugh in game situations. Now, anyone who knows me is that I have been very critical of Harbaugh over the years, pretty much prior to Lamar. But when I saw him give a Lamar and then I seen these articles that listen to how he talks and how he changed his whole persona, I'm on board with him. My fan base was so upset at him going for it on that fourth down in our own territory. And I was like, I love it. We are down 10-0. If we give them the ball back, there's a chance we can go 17-0. You have Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, where you've seen him do a Sam Hubbard touchdown coming back and before. You've seen him drop back 10 yards, come back up. We needed to go for that. And at the end of the day, it was a gutsy call. But much like Mike Tomlin did the fake punt that just dropped against the Washington Commanders, you have to do that. I don't like when people propose firing without the solution. I don't like when you propose somebody to get rid of them if you don't have a solution for the person to come in. People don't realize we don't even know half of the like probably 75% of things. JB, James, y'all actually have been at the Super Bowls and been in the day-to-day. So you probably have more insight of what is not actually being told out here that these people go through. So when you sit here and criticizing the person, you got to look at it like, yo, if you look at what was going on, yeah, go for it because we needed to get that touchdown. And essentially, it's like you keep questioning this guy, but it's like we're spoiled. We don't really take for granted how hard it is to consistently put out a team that can get 10 wins or more and get to the playoffs with a chance to win. We haven't got it done, but we went from not winning the playoff game to winning one to getting to the AFC title game. So don't tell me there's not progress in what this team is doing under his leadership. But it's like y'all keep people doing it. I'm just like, I'm fine. I have never had an issue with this team throughout the entire season because I know the ebbs and flows of it. All I care about is number one, getting to the playoffs. Once we get to the playoffs, if any team knows how to win on the road and what it cannot do, it's my team. So I don't care what we do, get us there, and he gets us there. So I just have to keep calling them out because every day, and I admin one of the biggest groups in Ravens Nation and actually met an investor of the Ravens Nation at my job, and we both said it. We don't understand why people are continuing to come at this guy and continuing to sit here and talk about what he doesn't do and what he hasn't done or what he's done. You ain't been in that situation. You don't know what it's like to be out there being down 10-0, having people question your every move and you have to make a move. Like, come on, man. Y'all can't do no better. So let it go. I know I can. So I'm not going to continue to sit there and say this person is trash enough. I'm like, half the teams in the league can't say they had to have an average of 10 plus wins every single year since Lamar has been the quarterback. Not many teams can say that. And for that, I'm grateful. I don't care if it takes we get there and every time we lose. I'd rather get there and keep trying than not get there at all.
And JJ, what are the alternatives? Think of how that game was going. It was 10-0, right? You punt there. The odds are the Chargers are going to score again.
Right.
He went for it, ran right up the middle, and they started imposing their will on the Chargers. It changed the whole style of the game. Now, was it the smartest move in the world? No, but it was the right move for the team. It showed the team that, hey, listen, we can run through them. Stop being worried and just play our game. Granted, if it failed, they lose the game, but they were going to lose the game either way if they punted. You had to change the momentum. Listen, I would take Harbaugh in a second. The guy, either one, they both know how to win.
Okay.
Or would you rather have a giant organization, which we're fighting to get the number one pick? That's our goal in life. Let's hope we lose so we get a number one pick, or a team that has a shot to, or a team that has a shot to win a Super Bowl, and we're a coach that's willing to take a risk on his players. He knew he was going to get eaten alive if that didn't work. He's not stupid. He knows what he's doing. He had to change the narrative of that game.
It's not the first
And that
time
took
Harbaugh has
balls.
done something like that.
To your point, it's what I do agree with what I want to say to the Ryan Clark or somebody said. At that moment, Big brother said, we're not letting little brother continue to get this game. We're going to get back in control, and we're going to keep doing what we're doing. And at the end of the day, people think it's all on Harbaugh. Harbaugh said this, I think, in 2019. Every fourth down, he checks with Lamar to see if he wants to go for it. And he has said, and Lamar has said it too, he wants to go for it every fourth down. Harbaugh doesn't always go for it on fourth downs. But when you see the game and you see your quarterback and he says, I got this, we got it. And then again, there was a second fourth down that comes in. But like you said, you have the best coaches in the games will make this move. On the flip side, Belichick lost on a fourth down when he had that 4th and 2, which was that infamous challenge call against the Colts way back, I think, 2007 or 2008. He said, we were not going to let this get back to him. We're going to seal this game. And if it didn't work, it didn't work. But we're not going to punt back to him and give him a chance to get down here. We got to win this game. It didn't work out that time, but this time for us, it worked.
It's about keeping in mind what the other team can do. Just like you said, the Chargers had the momentum. What are the chances that they go down there and score if they punt? In the Patriots-Colts example, Belichick wasn't going to give the ball back to Peyton Manning because he's seen that ending before, And not only that, but we're in an era where they're going for it on fourth down more than before. Everyone alludes to Dan Campbell, and Dan Campbell is a known gambler, but it's kind of spread throughout the league. It's not a guaranteed punt anymore like it used to be. Chances are they're in a certain position, in a certain situation in the game, they're going to go for it on fourth down.
And just for that Patriots-Colts game,
Dan Campbell started doing that because our defense was so atrocious. He's like, well, if I punt them the ball, they're just going to come down and score. So let me see if I can keep this drive alive, at least for a little bit longer, and maybe score some points.
Kenny, what you got, man?
But then you get some coaches like what's the Chargers coach they had before Harbaugh? Last year?
Brandon Staley.
Yeah, he went for fourth down all the daggone time. So sometimes you could be a little too aggressive, though, whatnot. So, but yeah, I get that point. With that Patriots Colts game a few years back, it didn't like Belichick didn't want to get the ball back to Peyton. We didn't want to get the ball back. It was the right call. We just didn't execute or whatnot.
Kevin, I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah, Kevin Falk didn't get control of the ball, and we came up just a few inches short. So it was actually the right call. If he catches that ball smooth, we had a different conversation there.
To your point, I'll leave it at that because I know we got to move on. If you ask me, there's not a fourth down I don't think I convert. There's not a fourth down I don't think we can convert if Lamar's my quarterback. There's not one fourth down that I don't think we convert because of the things that I've seen him do. He has done things that I'm just like, how? Like, how? And it's happened this year. It's happened nowhere. So I understand it. I'm okay with it.
He's an alien.
It's just something about his vision when he's on the move. It's crazy. It's just really crazy.
Go ahead.
Speaking of Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts, I want to bring up Chris Broussard, who I saw a clip from one of his segments this week. I'm actually going to play it real quick, and then I'm going to give my thoughts.
That they'll be able to slow down the run. Saquon obviously is great, but the Ravens are great against the run, and they were good against the run even without Roquan Smith last week.
I can't even hear it, but it's okay.
And then I don't think Jalen Hurts will be able to exploit them completely in the passing game. So I think that defensively they'll continue to play better. They've been playing well the last 2 weeks defensively. And then, look, I know the Phillies got a great defense, but I think this is a different animal in Baltimore. All right? Like, even though Philly's good against the run, this is not your typical run game because it's not just handed off to Derrick Henry. As great as he is, you also have to deal with Lamar. So I think the Ravens, and I think there's a good chance they win out the rest of the season anyway because I think they're.
So, Mr. Chris Broussard, you can just see when the media is leaning on a particular side, which he is leaning to the Ravens, bringing up stats, bringing up, oh, well, the Ravens are great against the run. The Ravens are great at this. But the Eagles are great at this, but they're not going to be able to stop Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry because the defense hasn't seen a quarterback like Lamar and a running back like Derrick Henry because Lamar has the threat to run. But in the same breath, the Eagles' defense is ranked high, but we don't is Jalen Hurts not a threat to run as well? But you bring Lamar up as a threat to run, but you don't bring up Jalen Hurts as if the Ravens defense doesn't have the exact same problem that they're facing. So everything Chris Broussard said was just a load of crap. He's biased. He's leading for one side, and it's obvious. Fails to acknowledge the great things that this team has done and accomplished this season. So anytime I see this type of a bias, it's worthy of being called out. So Chris Broussard got it this week.
Well, to your point, yeah, he's
James.
already said it on numerous times that he thinks we're going to win a Super Bowl. So it doesn't surprise me. Now that you said, I know what clip he's talking about. I completely agree with you on a lot of things you said, but it doesn't surprise me because he's said so many times he's on our bandwagon big time.
I mean, if you look at the stats, the Eagles have the second-ranked defense. Baltimore has the 25th. The Eagles are third against the pass. The Ravens are 31st. The Ravens are better against the run. They're second. The Eagles are seventh. So on what day of the week are you saying that this is going to be an easy win for Baltimore? I mean, you have to be absurd in not looking at everything that's done in there. The offenses are very similar in how they're built. Both have a top quality running back, one of the best in the game, and both have amazing quarterbacks at different points in their career. Jackson has a couple MVPs, even though they're both still young. So I give him a little bit of an advantage at this point. And Jalen's already been to the Super Bowl. So, I mean, they're both phenomenal. I don't know how you could say, without a doubt, this team has a clear-cut advantage looking at the stats. The only advantage I see is that, Philly should be able to throw the ball a little bit easier against Baltimore than anything else. Everything else looks kind of even to me. Two great
I don't
teams.
think the Ravens' run defense is really that good either. When your pass defense is that bad, why would teams even try to run it on you?
I have no problem with someone picking the Ravens, but it's
Hey,
just
what's
that
the line on that game, right? Like, who's favorite? I think the last I seen was Baltimore by 3, I think.
Baltimore by 3. Go ahead,
Baltimore
James.
as I was saying, I have no problem with someone picking the Ravens, but my issue is that you acknowledge these stats for the Ravens, but when it's brought up for the Eagles, yeah, the Eagles are ranked this, but you don't acknowledge it. But you acknowledge it for the other side. That's the main thing that I have an issue with.
It happens all the time with biased media. Whenever you have a team that the media rides with, they're gonna put them on a pedestal for anything they do, and whenever they lose a game, they tend. We've seen this a million times, like over the years, right? With Golden State, the Patriots, the Chiefs, you name it. If any of them lose the game, it's more about what they didn't do versus what the team actually did to win.
Denzel, to your point, that's not what they do with us because this team, that's true what you're saying, but in this particular, it's a one-off instance in terms of Chris Broussard because the Ravens do not get excuses for anything when they go about games. If anything, it's kind of set up against us. So to your point, you're right, but it does not apply to us in this particular instance because every time we lose, it's, we can't get it done. It's not, this is what happened. So that's why I wanted just something to say. We're not like the Golden States and stuff like that. Not at all. And Chris Broussard is really just...
I don't particularly respect anything that Chris Broussard has to say about football. He's a rich man's Stephen A. Just stay in your lane, Broussard. Talk about basketball.
And worst of all, why did the NFL flex this game to be in prime time? This is probably the best matchup of the week by far. I mean, I get the draw of the Bills 49ers because everyone thinks the 49ers that they're a good team. They kind of stink this year. But, the
CBS didn't want to give it up.
CBS didn't want to give it up. CBS can lock down, I think, 5 games a year, something like that. And that was
a shame.
Yeah.
That's an ultimate shame because that's a game everyone should have the option to watch because that's by far the best game of the week.
Yeah. It's in the late. It's in the late afternoon slot.
It's going to be the last game.
Yeah, Baltimore Philly play at 4, right? That's a national game, right?
They play at 4. They play at 4:20. They play at 4:25. The last game of the afternoon.
No, but I still see your point. Definitely.
Yeah, I agree. But
definitely
it's
a better matchup.
If I had the choice, I like CBS with Jim Nantz and Tony Romo just as much as I like Chris Collinsworth and Mike Tirico.
I'm good with it because
y'all do know who we got to watch on Monday night, right?
I'm good with it because we can just go to bed early when the Red Cowboys get blown out.
Hey, y'all do know who we forced to watch Monday Night Football, right?
Yeah, Broncos.
Broncos versus the Browns.
I'm actually intrigued by that matchup because I am intrigued by Denver Broncos, Bo Nix. I'm actually intrigued by that matchup.
Yeah, I guess it could always be worse, but
We're going to wrap it up here, guys. And when we get back, the Giants has been a dumpster fire. We got JB on the show with us. He covers the Giants. So we're going to ask him about it and see his thoughts.
Dun, 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 dun.
JB, the New York Giants, your team has probably been the biggest downfall of the season. Saquon went to Philly. He's having like an MVP season. All the dysfunction with the coaching and the front office and the hard knocks when they were showing videos of them talking in the meetings and they were saying, "Oh well, we don't think Saquon's going to go to Philly. We don't think he's going to get paid." Blah blah blah, and then it happens. And it just seems like it's been a big snowball that's just continuing to roll down the hill. So just give me your whole thoughts about everything that's happened and what's really wrong with this organization.
All right. So the first thing, let's start from the beginning, right? We've been horrible for some time. They bring in a new coach, they get to the playoffs because there's some talent on the roster, and this has happened a couple of times, and then they fall off. Now, let's talk about this year in particular, right? So to start this year, we have to go back a year when the Giants made the decision to extend Daniel Jones. Horrible move. They overpaid for him. There was a guy in free agency. Granted, he was a restricted free agent, but his name was Lamar Jackson. I don't know. Maybe you heard of him. He's a couple-of-time MVP. I know JJ, I think, loves the guy, right? He was a restricted free agent. $10 million more per year than what you pay Daniel Jones. You could have had Lamar Jackson lining up at the Meadowlands for the Giants. They didn't even bother doing that. They missed out on him when he got drafted too, which is another story. But okay, you go and you extend Daniel Jones. Then comes this offseason, and you're back Saquon Barkley, who without seeing what he's doing in Philadelphia right now, because we didn't know he was going to be this great. Yeah, okay. We had no clue. That's why we picked him number 2 years ago after Baker. But we had no clue he was going to be this great, so we let him walk because we couldn't afford him because we paid Daniel Jones, the guy who we cut this week. So Saquon goes to Philly, who, we're Giant fans. The only people we hate more than Philly is Dallas. They might as well be brothers, Dallas and Philly. And, very few Giant fans sound like myself and say, let Saquon get 2,000 yards and at least 200 every time he faces us. But I'll be honest, it's not Saquon's fault. Saquon's a class act. I hope he gets 2,000 yards every year. I hope every time he steps to New Jersey. Yep, every time he steps into New Jersey, because that's where the New York Giants play, because we can't have a team in our own friggin' state except for Buffalo. I hope Saquon gets over 200-plus yards. And you know what? He's so classy that he sat down at the end of the game without going for a rushing record. And so let the other guys eat. Why? Because he's a class act, unlike half what we have in New York. Now, last week we decided to cut the savior, Daniel Jones, because he doesn't know how to play quarterback. Are you kidding me? It's about time. We could have did that in the preseason. We knew he was a waste. So now here comes the problem, right? Because if you cut Daniel Jones, that had to be something that the owner knew. Mara had to know that was going to happen.
Yeah.
So if you're Dable and the GM, you gotta get a free pass because you didn't draft Jones. You were kind of stuck with him. And you cut him mid-year, so you kind of gave up the rest of the season, even though you weren't making the playoffs. But you got it out. The owner had to be involved in this situation. So at that point, you're kind of saying, okay, you're going to pick the next quarterback, and I'm going to see what you could do, which not only gives him one season, you got to see next year because you're not going to be good with a rookie quarterback. It's not an automatic. Look at the Bears. They have the number 1 pick. They're doing terrible. And, obviously with the Bears, we talked about that earlier. That's coaching. But I don't think Dable would make those same mistakes that we're seeing Eberflus make. I actually like Dable as a coach. And they do have some talent that this GM has put on this team. I like Tracy. I like Neighbors. I like Robinson. They have a couple of nice pieces on the offense. The defense isn't awful. With a couple of good pieces, that defense could get back to where it was. But the problem the problem we said for years is the offensive line. And how do you fix how do you make a bad offensive line look good? You get a quarterback that can scramble. Daniel Jones couldn't move to save his life. Yes, he has speed, but he couldn't see the game. I heard a couple of people early in the year talk about it, and it was almost as though he got in his own head because he was quick, and you saw him run the game in Philly. He had that whatever that long run where
Where
he
he
tripped
tripped
himself
over his
up.
own feet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Turf monster.
so he is quick, but he gets in his own head and he couldn't make the decision. But if you get a quarterback of the Lamar, Jalen Hurts type that can move but can stay in the pocket and throw, I think they'll be fine until they can solidify the line. I think Tracy's going to be good in the backfield. I think, in all honesty, keep everything status quo. Just get the right quarterback in the draft, and we'll see who that's going to be.
Hey,
I like
JB,
the kid out of Miami. Yeah,
I was about to ask you what quarterback did you want? Did you want this year?
Deion's
I
son?
like Cam Ward. I don't want anything to do with Dion or his son, I just don't want a circus. And the Giants, we're very much like the
Exactly what's
Steelers. We
going to
don't
be in
do
New
the
York.
circus thing, and it's not. I love Dion, but I want my football team to play football and not talk. Talk when you win if you want to talk. And we haven't won anything in so long. We shouldn't be talking.
And
So
Cam Ward can move out the pocket a little more than what Shador can.
yeah,
So I think Cam Ward would probably. You like Jalen Milroe from Bama?
he's okay. I mean, I'm just not a huge guy at Bama quarterbacks. I mean, I know Tua's been decent,
Amen.
but he's got that injury stuff.
He looked
Jalen,
absolutely lost last week. He couldn't throw. He couldn't run. You got
I'm not
housed
really
by
high
a,
on
a
Milrow.
500 Oklahoma Sooners team.
I think he's kind of like the Anthony Richardson type.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Hey, JB, what about Quinn Ewers or Dylan Gabriel? Would you want to see them in New York?
I'm not high on Ewers. I would prefer to see Manning play in Texas. Again, dual threat. Ewers doesn't have that speed, I don't think, to be like a dual threat.
Mhm.
AJB, knowing
Gabriel?
your organization, it would not surprise me if you take the quarterback that's in the same state but with a different team next year. It would not surprise me if Aaron Rodgers moves from New York Jets to New York
Don't
Giants.
say that.
Ew.
So the
don't
problem
put
with
that
that,
juju on him. I like JB. I don't
even
want to see Aaron Rodgers in
JB
New
is
York.
not a fan of Mr.
even if
Rogers.
even if they did that and we had Mr. Rogers' neighborhood, it would have worked. He has no pocket presence. He has no speed, and we have no line. So all that would be doing, we could just start digging around the 50-yard line and bury him because he wouldn't be able to get out of there.
And I also think
You
it's a
have
worse
to,
situation than the Jets.
yeah, by far.
Hey, JB, Dylan Gabriel out of Oregon. What about him?
I think for where the pick is, I think the kid out of Miami is the best option right now.
It's not bad.
That's who I want if I'm making the choice. That doesn't mean the other guys won't be good because this year the two I would have wanted was Bo Nix, obviously, and Pence out of Washington. Those were the two guys I thought that were going to be hits. Nix looks really good, but Jalen Daniels has been, probably
Penix
better than I
hasn't had
expected.
his shot yet, so we will see.
No, but I think he's going to. Him and Nix, I think, are going to be the two best long term out of this group. But Daniels and Caleb both look pretty good. Caleb's getting better now that with the new offensive coordinator.
With a real coach.
Daniels is kind of going. He's kind of slowed down a lot.
Nobody mentions Drake May. That's interesting. But
I do like him.
I don't watch him.
And I told you I like Drake May.
Nobody want to mention Drake May. That's cool.
I told you even in the Texans game, I said I like Drake May. I like how it was.
I do think each game. I do think with each game, New England is getting confident.
I think Drake May's been, and I'm not saying it because I'm a fan. I think Drake May's been the most impressive. Cause look what he's dealing with. You got a different offensive line unit. Name one wide receiver on the Patriots. Name one wide receiver on the Patriots right now.
Kayshawn Booty.
Great question.
Stop it.
DeMario Douglas.
Kayshawn Booty.
Man, stop, but who would any of them start on any other team?
Hell no.
Okay, look what Drake May dealing with, and he turning sugar into like Drake May is out there balling. Like
I think it's one of those. He's definitely getting the moral victories. The more they win.
Huh? What'd you say?
No, James, what were you saying? I cut you off. My bad.
Oh, I asked, does the Patriots still have Kendrick Bourne?
Yeah, you got to ask that question. That's how bad it is. Yeah, we still got Kendrick Bourne.
You said name one, though. I named one.
Man, come on,
unfortunately, Dom unfortunately cannot get with quarterbacks from basketball schools. It's so weird for him, but he just cannot. And granted, he's got a little Josh Allen in him a little bit because he likes to run the football and he likes to kind of be that physical guy. Right now, it's just like you just need to get him another guy, get him a receiver that he can feel
And like we
confident
forget,
going to.
he 22 years old. 22 years old.
Yeah,
No,
I
he's a
think
pretty good quarterback. But back to the
with every
topic.
game that he's playing,
You
with
got to
every
hope
game
that
he's
the
playing.
Patriots can reverse their fortunes on drafting wide receivers because, good God.
Back to the topic, which was about the Giants. I want to say, if it does end up with the Eagles, God forbid they win the Super Bowl or Saquon wins MVP, I don't really see how anybody in the front office can keep their job after something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you have to look
I
at it
would give
this way.
Daboll his chance. I'd give Daboll his chance
I
one
said
more
the
time.
front office. If you want to keep
You got to
Daboll, you
look
can
at it
keep
this way,
Daboll.
though.
But the GM and all the
If
scouts and all the people that signed off on that,
Yeah, but then
everybody got to
if you
go.
if you fire the GM and the other people in the front office and keep your coach, then you just get into that vicious cycle of you hire
yeah,
a new GM who's got a holdover
you got to
coach.
hire a new
Ah,
coach.
but
Uh,
1 second. But 1 second. Hear me out. Just hear me out. Dable. JB, is it fair to say Dable was handcuffed a little bit? He was handed Daniel Jones and this front office. So, I
Listen,
mean, nobody will want to go to a job where you handcuff, right? And then
yep.
because you can't get done what you need to get done, they fire you. I mean,
And,
just me. At
and
this
not only
point, if
that,
they fire Dable, he be getting a bad rap. You give him another quarterback and he can't do it. Okay, cool. You know what I'm saying?
and not even just that. I mean, look at what Saquon's doing, right? How many years was he on the Giants? Did he ever do anything like that? Let's stop. And you see Giant fans on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it nowadays, and different social media. Well, we could have had Saquon. He could be doing all that for us. No, we couldn't. We have no offensive line. He's had how many years to do that with us? He's phenomenal. We wasted how many years of his career? Signing him would not have helped us. We were not winning the Super Bowl. We were not making the playoffs with Saquon. Let him go out there and get the accolades he deserves. He's a great ball player. Yes, it sucks to lose talent like that, but we're not going anywhere anytime soon. So
That's
keeping
fine, but
Saquon,
you can't let Saquon go to Philadelphia. You got to franchise tag him and trade him somewhere. You can't allow something like this to happen in the division.
I get what you're saying to trade him, but there's no value in trading a running back. Nobody was going to give him anything for him, James. You know that. Look at what these
I
wide
would
receivers
do.
and running backs in trades go for. Sixth, fourth round pick, seventh round pick. Would that have been worth it? Let him go out there and make his money. I don't hate it. He
I
wasn't
would
doing
rather
this
do
with us.
that than have something like this happen.
That's where I do think.
Listen,
I think with JB, your team, or your GM, because there is value in the fourth, the seventh, in those picks with the right GM. Like, look at some of the players that have come out in those rounds, and it's like when you listen to them, it's like it's a numbers game sometimes. Plus, it's just the Giants. I feel like New York. We have to. This is going. We have to understand. This is New York. In New York, there's a certain status or certain confidence that you're supposed to have, a very much arrogance in terms of how you conduct yourself. There's a lot of pride here. And then when I heard that clip about them deciding on Saquon or not, that's just the guys that said, you know what, I know more than what y'all think is going to happen. And boom, it did happen. And I'm pretty sure this whole year has been humiliating to this team in front office because of what he's doing. And so now it's like,
Let's be honest. The Giants have been a fucking clown show since Eli got benched.
yep. And again, would Saquon have done this? If you pay him all that money, what would he have done for us? Nothing. Who cares
Right.
that he went to the Eagles? We're not going to be better than the Eagles this year. We're not going to be
But
better
if
than the
you're
Eagles
gonna
next year or in 2 years from now. By the time we're better than the Eagles, Saquon's not going to be what he is right now. Let him win. Who cares? You see, look big picture. The
I
idea is
kind
to
of
win the Super
agree.
Bowl. If I'm not going to win the
I
Super
still
Bowl,
think any
nothing
kind of
else
fifth, sixth,
matters.
seventh round pick is better than nothing. But yeah, they had to move on. There's as great as he is, there's no reason to give him whatever amount of money when he's not going to be able to produce and help you win games. I get it. It
All right, I think
sucks, but when your team is that far away from contending, it's no different than people that Speaking of the Giants, people that bitched and moaned when the Lions didn't want to re-sign Kenny Galladay. We weren't at that point. We weren't at the point to give a receiver that kind of money. And what has Kenny Galladay done since then?
I like Galladay.
I wouldn't even be able to
Me
tell you.
too. But I was already mourning the loss of him the middle of his last season in Detroit. I'm like, we're not re-signing this guy.
And I get the whole you should have got compensation. You can't let him go to the Eagles, but we weren't competing with the Eagles. We're competing with let's see, the Cleveland Browns right now. That's who we're competing with. The Carolina Panthers.
I
We're in a
was going to
different
say,
league.
pick a last place team, them.
We're relegated right now, and we've been relegated for over a decade.
I love that you use that word.
Well,
It's just a sad state.
I think that boat trip with the boat picture before they played the Green Bay Packers in the playoffs, ever since then, I think that's just something that kind of did them in.
Listen, if they had an offensive line, Eli could have played about 5 more years because the guy could have still thrown. But he wanted to be a Giant, and they weren't going to start him because he couldn't move, and there was no blocking for him, so they moved on. And since then, they never fixed the line. And, you can't win without an offensive line unless you have a quarterback that can move the pocket, and you have a quarterback that knows how to play.
The Bears
AKA
don't seem to
Lamar.
understand that either.
Yeah.
Lamar or Jalen Hurts. They're the two best in the league at doing it. 1 and 1A. Lamar's a little bit better, but he hasn't gotten to the Super Bowl. Jalen, is right below, but he got to the Super Bowl. I take either one in a second. That's where the Giants messed up. The draft, they got Barkley. Baker went first, Barkley went second. All the way at the end of the first round, those pesky Ravens and the guy above him who likes New England screwed the Giants because they made that trade, and Lamar went to Baltimore. Had New England had that pick, they weren't taking Lamar if they didn't make that trade. The second round starts. 2.1 is Cleveland. They already got Baker. Now the Giants, second round, second pick. Who's sitting there waiting for him? Nice and pretty. Lamar Jackson. If you don't take him, it's an easy pick. I mean, you got to take him. And he sits behind Eli a couple of years. He learns how to play. Not that the kid didn't know how to play, but, he sits and he learns the Giant way. He comes in when Eli's done, and he'd be phenomenal. He's already phenomenal, but he'd be even better learning from Eli, learning some, from a top pocket quarterback. It was the way it should have been, but nope. The Patriots made that trade with the Ravens. The Ravens saw something and knew, and 30 other teams missed on it. I get, the Browns wanted Baker, the Bills wanted Josh, and there were, a couple of the great choices, but Lamar was the
Sony Michel that draft, but it worked out because we did win the Super Bowl that year, and he was the main reason we won it. But and then we took Isaiah Wynn, so I knew we wouldn't take it. We did work out Lamar that offseason though. Belichick and McDaniels, our offense coordinator, there. He was crazy over Lamar. We worked him out, but we won't really. We always do. We weren't going to take him though.
That is a trade that I will never forget because listen, I love Barkley, and I always will. But taking a running back second at that point, we wasted his career until he left us. And I always felt that way. And then we had the chance. We just needed the picks to go through. And I'm driving on the highway when I heard the trade. I literally almost drove off the highway. I was so angry because Lamar was falling to us in the second round, clear top first round talent, and we couldn't get him. And then the second time when he was a free agent and we gave Jones the extension, granted he was a restricted free agent, but we had the opportunity to negotiate with him. Could have paid him a little bit more than what we were paying DJ, and then we were. But nope, nobody ever called him. No team ever called Lamar. It was, only Baltimore, which made no sense whatsoever. There were teams that needed quarterbacks. I don't know why, just because the Ravens could have matched it. Well, now's your chance to screw the Ravens. Put in an offer. Nobody wanted to.
I mean, just, because.
Hold on, Jay. Last thing, we got to wrap this segment up. We got about 10 minutes left. Still got to get to non-sports topics. Go ahead.
No, just real quick. I mean, they Daniel Jones, the Giants won 11 games and went to the postseason 2 years ago. He had that one decent season that wasn't really all that great. But he had that decent season, Something extension. You basically paid a faster Blake Bortles. Literally. Like that 2017
Ooh.
season, go look at Bortles' numbers.
Ooh.
You basically paid a faster Blake
Ooh.
Bortles.
Bortles went to the AFC
I
Championship.
haven't heard that
I
name in
can't even
forever.
dispute that take. That's so
Wow.
spot on, Blake Bortles.
I haven't heard
I'll
Blake
never
Bortles.
forget the graphic that was like Nick Foles, Case Keenum, Tom Brady, and who's the other quarterback? I don't remember, but it was one of the craziest graphics ever.
Well, was it?
Blake Bortles. Is he even an active NFL roster
He's been out of the
participant
league.
right now? He's somebody's
He's been out of the league
backup,
for
isn't he?
No, he's been out of the league, I think, like 3 years. 3,
What?
4 years
For
now.
real?
Yes. He's out of the league, man.
Wow.
I didn't know that.
Giants should look him up. Maybe he could play a couple of games.
He get you about as far as Daniel Jones did. All right. We all good, James. We can move on.
All right, Jay, what's our non-sports topic?
All right, so I had to kind of come up with this on the spot. So we're all from the same era-ish. JB's like 60, but whatever. So choose two popular action franchises. It could be anything you grew up on. James, he's from the Pokemon generation and everything like that. Some of us G.I. Joe, Ninja Turtles, Power Rangers, whatever. Pick two popular action franchises that you would love to see have a crossover. Whether they battling each other or they team up, but whichever two franchises you love growing up, and which one of them two would you like to see have a crossover? Film, TV show, or whatever. James?
I already know what he's going to say. I think.
We know Pokemon's one.
Come
back. We know Pokemon's one.
Come back to me.
I can give James's picks for him.
I thought he was going to say like Dragon Ball Z versus
He's for sure going to say Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z. Fine choices. Fine choices.
We wouldn't have been mad at you for it, but now we'll come back to you.
I can go.
That's your era.
I can go.
Come on,
JJ. I want to see Resident Evil meet Silent Hill because you get two different dynamics of horror.
You get the
horror of the bioweapons and the genetically enhanced humans on the Resident Evil side, and then you got the magic and the alternate dimensions of Silent Hill, which both of them you can conquer with tapping into two parts of you that may not be easy. Of course, in Silent Hill, if you're not afraid of anything, you can get through it because it plays on your fears. And then with Resident Evil, you just gotta be ready to deal with some of the craziest things you'll ever see in your life and knock them out. I'd love to see those two, and I would also love to see Mortal Kombat meet Street Fighter.
Yeah,
and I would love to see that in the sense of
that's a good shout.
That's my number one.
And it's awesome, and I would even do a 3-part thing and put in Tekken 2, just because I want to see all the fighters come against each other, because I want to see who can get to different levels, who can get to, let's say, a planetary feat, because you got to soup them up to turn certain things, who becomes omni level because they're just above everybody in so many different capacities. Because in Tekken, I think Jin Kazama is the alternate of, I think, Kazuya, and they're like the interplanetary feats. They can control the world. But I would like that one. I want to start with Resident Evil and Silent Hill, though, because I love both games. I love them both.
That's definitely a great pick. I would say for mine, I agree with you because we talked about this before. Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Automatic. I'm gonna give a honorable mention here, and while I'm because of the popularity of the movie franchise and the popularity of the video game franchise, I would not mind seeing The Legend of Zelda meets Lord of the Rings.
That's a good one.
That's a good.
I like that.
I would not mind. I would not mind seeing that one bit because I've said that because of the Lord of the Rings, I'm like they could make a Legend of Zelda live action film. What's taking them so long? But I think a crossover like this would be pretty dope.
This is a good one.
They had a crappy TV show that was on the Mario Brothers show. No movie, though.
You should have Mario Kart versus Grand Theft Auto. Not Grand Theft, or Need for Speed. Need for Speed versus Mario Kart. Us drivers in cars versus them in their cars, and see who comes out on top.
I like that, too.
Actually, you know what?
That's pretty strange.
I actually think the first one works, because imagine you playing Mario Kart and then somebody like Luigi pulls out the pistol and shoots somebody's car instead of like throwing a banana at him. That would be great.
Yeah, that would be. And Bacon got a good one too. Put it back up real quick.
I thought, yep.
That low key
Yeah,
might
this
be
is a
Crash
good shout.
Bandicoot v Sonic. That low key might be a good one also, man. Crash Bandicoot. We talked about
That's my game.
That's my game. Crash Bandicoot was more known on the PS1. He was one of the staple ones on PS1 on the OG. Yeah. So
remember the big whale?
The big whale. What do you mean?
Big whale that he had to go. The big polar bear too that he had to escape from.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's JB. Who you got, man?
Gotta have Batman. He's the best superhero of all time. But where are we gonna put him? Gotta put him with Iron Man, working together because they're both crazy into tech.
They're the same guy. No, I love it. They're the same guy.
Yeah,
I like that.
I'm gonna go with 2 TV shows that I grew up watching. I'm gonna go with Drake and Josh and Keenan and Kel. Be my
Drake and Josh and Keenan and Kel.
I don't think my stomach can withstand that much laughing. I don't think I could.
I mean, no, we definitely
who the dumbest?
Keenan and Kel. I mean, I came up watching all that on Nickelodeon, but
yeah, all that. Yeah, but I'll put Keenan and Kel above all that. Like just seeing the two, just Keenan and Kel in the crossover with Drake and Josh. I think that would be must see TV for me anyway.
Yeah, that's a good one.
No, absolutely. That would be. Do you have another one in mind, like action or just comedy?
No, just it.
Is it okay? Oh, okay, James. All right, we back to you now.
No, I really think that was a good shout from JJ, so I'm gonna steal that one. GTA, Mario Kart, like Luigi pulling out the Desert Eagle, popping somebody's tire, like Yoshi instead of throwing eggs, like he's throwing like grenades or something. Like that would just be live.
Peach takes her whip and just beats you with it.
And Bowser live. And Bowser easily is a mob boss you're doing jobs for. So, no, that actually would not be a bad idea at all. I mean, the Mario franchise in a totally dark light. You know what I'm saying? But
JJ might be on this one. I think Nintendo should give him a job.
If they raise their power levels just a little bit more, I would love to see a Naruto Dragon Ball Z mix up. I would love to see that. If they can get their levels just a little bit more, because by Naruto standards, they have planetary feats on there. Dragon Ball Z has planetary and universal feats, so you got to scale it up a little bit more. But I would love to see their style versus their style.
James, would you approve of that one?
I would, but like based on what he's saying with the power scaling, like the Dragon Ball verse would dominate. So
of course, right now, yeah,
that's the point.
So maybe you could do Dragon. So I'm going Transformers and G.I. Joe, just based upon the celebrity voices. You're talking Sergeant Slaughter, Casey Kasem, the Micro Machines guy, Judd Nelson as Rodimus Prime. I'm talking to all the cartoon from the 80s and G.I. Joe. Those were on back to back when I was a kid. Like right when I got home from school, it was G.I. Joe and then Transformers.
And Transformers, yeah. They actually greenlit an actual crossover film. There was the ending of which one? It was the last Transformers one. Not Transformers 1, the one before it, but in the ending,
the one where
I forgot about that. They did come out with a cartoon one again, didn't they?
Yeah, they said they're coming on. They greenlit an actual crossover film, so you very well may get your wish. I know I'm gonna be front seat, so I'm gonna be right there.
Okay, can I get this one though? I just want to get these two movies. I want to see. Let me see Maximus versus Achilles. Give me Gladiator versus Troy, and I want to see who's going to come out on top between those two.
I would get Gladiator, but I think that'd be a good one though. Yu-Gi-Oh and Beyblade.
Ultimately, they kind of have the same kind of ending a little bit because they're both fighting to the point just because they want to die, essentially, or they're just tired of living this whole crazy life. Achilles is just, he wants that fame and glory, and Maximus just wants to be with his family.
Okay. Well.
Oh, what about? Oh, y'all like this one? Now I gotta go with this one because I want to find something to pair with Harry Potter.
Okay.
Because I was thinking of the Lord of the Rings in the sense because it is mythical and magical and stuff, but
Right.
outside of Gandalf and Galadriel and all of them, there's not too many other people that have powers. You just have the hobbits and all those things. So I really don't know, but I would love to see a Harry Potter crossover. Hey, maybe with Buffy. I don't know.
You could do
Vampires. I don't
Gandalf
know.
versus Voldemort.
That's actually in the Facebook group I had seen, and it's like, are we talking Gandalf the Gray or Gandalf the White? Because I thought Gandalf the White is the stronger one,
I don't
right?
fuck with Harry Potter.
No, Gandalf is from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
I don't fuck with Lord of the Rings.
He said Gandalf. I thought it was I was thinking of Ganon from Legend of Zelda, which
Yep.
actually may be a pretty badass matchup, but yeah, most definitely, man. That'd be pretty dope.
All right, that does it for us tonight on the Gauntlet. JB, host of the Sideline Sports Show. Is anything happening on the other side of Sideline Sports that you want to tell everyone before we leave?
Just gearing up, get ready for the end of the season for Super Bowl. Can't wait to be in New Orleans. Hopefully, you guys can be down there. Look forward to seeing you. College basketball happening now. Hopefully, covering some college tournaments and some teams every Tuesday night, 8:30. Always loving it. Love being on here with you guys. You guys do a hell of a job.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you for
appreciate
taking
you
the
for
time to
coming
be
on.
on, bro. Make sure you guys check out the website, sidelinesportsnet.com, for all of JB's work and all the rest of our work, articles, and all kinds of cool stuff on there. Make sure you guys check it out. And we will see you guys next Friday for another episode of The Gauntlet. Thanks for watching.
Good night, Mississauga, Ontario.
Good night,
Good
Riyadh.
night.